The Nordwestblock is a hypothetical northwestern European cultural region that several scholars propose as a prehistoric culture in the present-day Netherlands, Belgium, northern France, and northwest Germany, in an area approximately bounded by the rivers Somme, Waas, Meuse, and Elbe, and possibly extending to the eastern part of what is now England. During the Bronze and Iron Ages, from the 3rd to 1st millennia BCE up to the onset of historical sources in the 1st century BCE, the theory was first proposed by two authors working independently, Hans Kuhn and Moritz Gieseling, who was partly influenced by Belgian archaeologist Siegfried de Laat. Gieseling's proposal included research indicating that another language may have existed somewhere in between Germanic and Celtic in the Belgian region. The term itself, Nordwestblock, was coined by Hans Kuhn, who considered the inhabitants of this area neither Germanic nor Celtic, thus attributing to the people a distinct ethnicity or culture. According to Kuhn and his followers, the region was Germanized from the beginning of the Common Era. At the latest language hypotheses concerning the language spoken by the Iron Age Nordwestblock population, Kuhn speculated on linguistic affinity to the Venetic language. Other hypotheses connect the Northwestblock with the Raetic or generic centum Indo-European. Gieseling suspected an intermediate Belgian language between Germanic and Celtic, that might have been affiliated to Italic. According to Luc van Derm, a Belgian linguist, toponymic evidence to a former Celtic presence in the Low Countries is near to utterly absent. Kuhn noted that since Proto-Indo-European (B) was very rare, and since this (B) via Grimm's law, is the main source of regularly inherited (P)s in words in Germanic languages, the many words with (P)s which do occur must have some other language as source. Similarly, in Celtic, P disappeared and in regularly inherited words only reappeared in Celtic languages as a result of the rule that P*K became Proto-Celtic *P. All this taken together means that any word starting with a P in a Germanic language which is not evidently borrowed from either Latin or a Celtic language must be a loan from another language, and these words Kuhn ascribes to the Nordwestblock language. Linguist Peter Schrijver speculates on the reminiscent, lexical and typological features of the region from an unknown substrata whose linguistic influences may have influenced the historical development of the languages of the region. He assumes the pre-existence of pre-Indo-European languages linked to the archaeological linear pottery culture and to a family of languages featuring complex verbs, of which the Northwest Caucasian languages might have been the sole survivors, although assumed to have left traces within all other Indo-European languages as well. Its influence would have been especially strong on Celtic languages originating north of the Alps and on the region including Belgium and the Rhineland. It is uncertain when Germanic began to gain a foothold in the area. The Nordwestblock region north of the Rhine is traditionally conceived as belonging to the realms of the Northern Bronze Age, with the Harpstedit Iron Age generally assumed to represent the Germanic precedents west of the Gestorf culture. The general development converged with the emergence of Germanic within other previously Northern Bronze Age regions to the east, maybe also involving a certain degree of Germanic cultural diffusion. The local continuity of the Dutch areas was not substantially affected by pre-Roman or Celtic immigration. From about the 1st century CE, this region saw the development of the Weser Rhine group of West Germanic dialects which gave rise to Old Frankish from the 4th century. The issue still remains unresolved, and so far no conclusive evidence has been forwarded to support any alternative. Mallory considers the issue a salutary reminder that some anonymous linguistic groups that do not fully obey the current classification may have survived to the dawn of historical records. Prehistoric composition. The archaeological case for the Nordwest group hypothesis makes reference to a time depth of up to 3000 BCE. The following prehistoric cultures have been attributed to the region, compatible with but not necessarily proving the Nordwestblock hypothesis. The Bell-Beaker culture is thought to originate from the same geographic area, as early stages of this culture apparently derived from early corded-ware culture or elements, with the Netherlands, Rhineland region as probably the most widely accepted site of origin. The Bell-Beaker culture locally developed into the Bronze Age barbed wire beaker culture. In the 2nd millennium BCE, the region was at the boundary between the Atlantic and Nordic horizons, split up in a northern and a southern region, roughly divided by the course of the Rhine. To the north emerged the Alp culture, featuring an initial tumulus phase showing a close relationship to other northern European tumulus groups, and a subsequent smooth local transformation to the Urnfield culture BCE. The southern region became dominated by the Hilversum culture, which apparently inherited the previous barbed wire beaker cultural ties with Britain. From 800 BCE onwards, the area was influenced by the Celtic Hallstatt culture. The current view in the Netherlands holds that subsequent Iron Age innovations did not involve substantial Celtic intrusions, but featured a local development from Bronze Age culture. In the final centuries BCE, areas formerly occupied by the Alp culture emerge as the probably Germanic Harpstedt culture west of the Germanic Gestorf culture, while the southern parts become assimilated to the Celtic Latine culture, consistent with Julius Caesar's account of the Rhine forming the boundary between Celtic and Germanic tribes. Later, the Roman retreat resulted in the disappearance of imported products like ceramics and coins, and a return to virtually unchanged local Iron Age production methods. To the north, people continued to live in the same three-aisled farmhouse, while to the east completely new types of buildings arose. More to the south, in Belgium, archaeological results of this period point to immigration from the North Roman era. With the onset of historical records, the area was generally called the border region between Celtic and Germanic influence. Tribes located in the area include the Batavians, Belgi, Chatti, Hermunduri, Cheroshi, Sicambray, Usurpi, Tengtiri and Usurpites. Caesar took the course of the Rhine to be the boundary between Gauls and Germans, but also mentioned that a large part of the Belgi had ancestry from east of the Rhine, and one part were even known collectively as Germany. The Belgi were therefore considered Gaulish because of their position with respect to the Rhine, and not in the modern linguistic sense of the terms.